You've described this as a really rare event, but this does seem like a pretty drastic step. Do you believe that the scientists sufficiently weighed the benefits of this pause against the damage or risk that this could do to the broader effort and the impact it could have on vaccine hesitancy?
Well, Dr. Fauci, maybe you'll go after me, but I want to say that we have plenty of supply. So I mentioned that we, for the last several weeks, have been sending 25 million doses out, and while we're averaging 3 million shots in arms per day, the 25 million supports actually that level and even accelerating. And we just sent out 28 million doses today, or announced 28 million doses will be sent this week to states, tribes, territories, and through our federal channels. So we have plenty of supply to continue our vaccination program and to hit our goals. But over to Dr. Fauci.
Yeah. I believe your question is, did we pull the trigger too soon on this because it was such a rare event? Well, you know, our FDA is internationally known for their capability of making sure that we have the safest products out there. And that's what I meant when I said an abundance of caution. You want to make sure that safety is the important issue here. We are totally aware that this is a very rare event. We want to get this worked out as quickly as we possibly can. And that's why you see the word pause. In other words, you want to hold off for a bit and very well may go back to that, maybe with some conditions or maybe not. But we want to leave that up to the FDA and the CDC to investigate this carefully. So I don't think it was pulling the trigger too quickly.
And just a logistical question more so than anything, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices is meeting tomorrow to discuss this. Why not try and meet today? I mean, is this not a moment to sort of drop everything and focus on this?
You know, I think you have to get people pulled together. I think tomorrow is not such a long wait. I mean, I'm sure they want to get everybody. There may be people who are not available. They want to get the full component of it.
Alex? Can you talk a little bit about the process in both deciding for this pause and sort of what comes next? First off, did the White House have any advance notice of the issues with the J&J vaccine, and was there involvement from the White House in deciding this? And how do you evaluate when to pause vaccines? Are we going to see more of these pauses in the future if more issues pop up?
Why don't you do the first part and I'll do the second part?
This decision was made by the CDC and the FDA. And that's one of the things that's, I think, such a good thing about our system here, is that we're ruled by the science, not by any other consideration. So the decision was really thoroughly made by the CDC and the FDA.
I would say, consistent with following the science, we were notified last night that there would be an announcement this morning, and therefore had no other involvement other than knowing last night that there would be an announcement this morning from the FDA and the CDC.
And in this review, what's going to happen? What are they looking for? What are they evaluating? When should we expect a conclusion?
Well, they want to see if there's any clues of other things going on. Were there any underlying, for example, if they're going to, just hypothetical, if they're going to make a decision to go forward and say, you know, we looked at this, if they find some common denominators among the women who were involved that might be synergizing and essentially enabling this type of an adverse event, they may know that for those who don't have that, it may be much safer. There may be clues when you go down and really get granular about every single case. In addition, they want to look at what some of the mechanisms are. The mechanisms may give some insight as to what is going on.
And should we expect to potentially see further pauses in the future? I mean, could this keep happening with the vaccines because they're so new?
Well, you know, if you look at the history of, take a look at what has gone on with the Moderna and the Pfizer, where you have, you know, literally tens and tens and tens of millions. This watched us carefully. There had been no red flags. When you have a red flag of something that is as serious as thrombotic thrombocytopenia, particularly when you have an individual, one of whom died, you take that seriously. So I don't think that minimal things that very likely have nothing at all to do with the vaccine, that we're going to pull the trigger so quickly as to keep stopping and stopping and stopping. I think this is an unusual occurrence of a serious adverse event that you want to make sure before you go forward, you investigate it thoroughly. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're pausing so that they can look at it more carefully.
Thank you. A couple for Dr. Fauci first. It's great to see you back at the podium, Dr. Fauci. Given that the impacted patients were all women between the ages of 18 and 48, should women under 50 be excluded from getting the J&J vaccine?
The question you're asking gets back to several of the questions here. That's the reason why the CDC and the FDA want to take a look at this and say, are there some categories now where people outside of that categories don't have any of the factors, so it'll be okay to go on? It is entirely conceivable, making no predictions, that there may be some restriction in an age group or not. We don't know that now. That's the reason why they're working very hard to answer the question you're asking.
And what's your medical advice for people who have recently received the J&J vaccine and may be concerned about blood clots?
Well, I mean, if someone recently, within days, I would tell them to just, first of all, don't get an anxiety reaction, because remember, it's less than 1 in a million. However, having said that, pay attention. Do you have symptoms? Headache? Do you have shortness of breath? Chest discomfort? Do you have anything that resembles a neurological syndrome? And obviously, if you have something as serious as a seizure, I mean, that's pretty clear. But the manifestations of this are that headache is the very common component of it, because the sinus thromboses that they have is the draining of the blood in the brain, and it will cause enough symptomatology to make you notice it. Just tell people to just watch out for not feeling very well.